Hello everyone. Have you ever tried manifestation techniques like water manifestation, scripting, using candles, or even wearing or charging crystals? And you can't seem to pinpoint why these aren't working for you. In this video, we're going to explore the way that you are connected with the elements in order to determine which manifestation techniques will work best for you. Are you ready? Let's begin. So what does it mean to be connected to the elements? Now, there's different philosophies and schools of thought that have their own opinion on what are the elements. But typically, they usually consist of air, fire, earth, water, and then either ether or spirit. But according to my friend and headmaster of his own witchcraft school, BearBridge Academy, there are 7 elements when it comes to magic and manifestation. They are air, fire, water, growth, stone, spirit, and time. And we tend to be more connected to some elements more than others. That's why, for example, water manifestation could work really well for one person and then do almost nothing for another. The difference is the connection that someone has with water. And that's not to say that one person has connection to water and the other person doesn't in this example, but everyone's strength of their connection varies from person to person. This means that we as human beings will always have some sort of connection to the elements. It's usually never 0%, but you will have a top three elements that are most strong, most connected to you. And these strengths can also vary depending on where you are in life and what you're focused on in the present moment. For example, coming back to my friend Ali, he has a witchcraft school called BearBridge Academy, and he was developing the green magic course. And while he was doing so, he noticed that his connection to the element of growth became stronger. It didn't quite go into his top 3. He noticed that the percentages went up. To learn more about your connection with the elements, I'll link a quiz down below in the description box that you can take, and you'll see the strength. And you can always come back to this quiz because, again, as time goes on, depending on what you're doing, what you're focusing on, what you're studying, you might find that these percentages change. For example, I recently took the quiz, and my top 3, I believe, was always spirit, water, and air. And it would vary where maybe time would start creeping up there. But now, today when I took it, spirit is still number 1, growth is 2nd, water is 3rd, and air has fallen down the list to the 2nd lowest. Fire has gotten a little bit higher up there, which is really interesting. So it's great to check periodically and just to see where you're at, where your spirit's at. I'll also link BearBridge Academy down below if you're interested in learning how to utilize this energy and this power within you. Now, let's talk about the different manifestation techniques and what element they're connected to, so you'll have a better understanding of which technique will work best for you. Let's start with stone. Surprisingly, at least with our experience at BearBridge, stone people tend to be a little bit rare, but my partner is one, surprisingly. Anyways, I find this very fascinating because of the popularity of crystals within the general population. Capitalism, baby! But of course, despite someone's connection to stone, these crystals, metals, rocks, they will always hold their own energies and qualities. Not being connected won't take that energy away from that stone itself, which means it could still work as a tool, as an ingredient, as energy. But this means that being able to connect with a stone, to feel its energy and vibration will probably be challenging for most people. But if you are a stone person, doing things like crystal grids may work really well for you. You can do a really simple one with a representation of you or another person in the middle, taking some terminated stones that match the intention of what you want. You're going to surround your representation of the person either pointing the points in if you want to bring that energy in, or pointing the tips outwards if you want to take that energy out. Now, if we consider the movement of stones, they don't really move. That means the work that you do compared to something like fire magic is going to take a lot longer. So you should leave your crystal grid here for a longer period of time, weeks, maybe even months. You can also take your crystals, your crystal bracelets, charge them with your intention, with your energy, and carry those around with you. Ideally, they should be touching your skin in order to have an impact. If you're planning to wear a stone, you can also use a leather or some sort of natural fabric that will help the energy transfer more easily. Next, let's talk spirit. This is what it sounds like working with spirits. You can either petition certain spirits to do the work for you. You can pray and give offerings to deities, gods, goddesses. This type of work usually means that you're some sort of psychic medium so that you can commune with spirits in your own way. And for this type of work, it's really important that you understand the spirit that you're working with. So make sure to do lots of research about its history, the culture that it comes from, origins, what they like, what they dislike. This will give you an idea of what kind of work, what area this spirit can work in, and also what you can give to them as offerings or as gifts. It's extremely important here that you are respectful to spirits and don't give them something that they dislike. It can offend them. Now, not all spirits are vengeful. Some will just probably ignore you, but it's in good practice to be respectful in order to have success in this work. Every spirit is different. So you might need a relationship before you can ask for something, to ask for help. Others can be called on like a contractor. Do your research and take it seriously. And included in this work is mirror work and the manipulation of energy. Now we have time. This one I find a little bit abstract, but you can consider the time element to be connected to the zodiac, the moon cycles, the changing of the seasons. We give these things the passing of time meaning. For this element, we need our human interpretation to give it meaning. So if you are a time person, something like using the moon phases to time your manifestations and your intentions will work really well for you. And also sigils. Sigils are a part of time because it's us humans, attributing meaning to those lines and those symbols. And before we move on, I want to talk about scripting. This one is a popular technique, but the element in which it falls under depends on how you decide to use your writing. This is known as the casting, the way that you are sending the energy off into the spirit world. So for scripting, the cast can vary. If you burn it, fire, read it out loud, air, leave it in a running body of water, bury it, growth. When we speak words out loud, that's air. Reading your affirmations, even writing scripting out is considered air. Singing songs or hymns, even chanting and mantra. Air can also be the smoke that rises from burning incense or herbs. Burning a petition becomes a combination of fire to actually burn the petition itself and air with the smoke that arises. Speaking of fire, let's move on to fire. You can have candles where you charge a candle with your intention before burning it. And the thing about fire is that it works very quickly. Think about the way that a fire can spread. But because of this work isn't suited for really big changes. But you can slowly nudge or bring that manifestation closer to you by burning multiple candles, multiple petitions, and that's just because it takes a lot more energy. There are different types of candles that you can use, like chime candles or 7-day candles. The basic rule of thumb is the longer that a candle can burn, the more energy that is being generated. So typically, this type of work should move really fast, either within a few days or a couple weeks at the most. But it's not able to bring you really big change, really big manifestations, and it might not be long lasting. You need a lot more energy, a lot more fire to get that manifestation moving and sustained. Think about how much fire or how much tinder you need to keep a bonfire going. Water. We have water manifestation where you charge water with your intention, then drink it. You can also take a bath with salts and herbs, which is a combination with growth, a little bit of stone maybe. But keep watching because we'll talk about combining techniques later on. You can also leave your petition, your scripts in a moving body of water, like a river, to carry off that energy into the universe. Using oils like the second sight oil recipe that I shared would fall in this category. Think liquid, wet. And finally, we have growth. This is typically connected to things that grow in our world, like plants, animals. Here you can use herbs, actual living plants, also fabric and sewing. And here with scripting or petitions, you can bury that piece of paper by a tree as a means of casting. This is almost like the opposite of fire, because fire is fast acting and needs a lot of energy to continue. Whereas if you bury your script, it will take a longer amount of time for it to manifest, but it will be a lot more stable and a lot more lasting, a lot more long lasting. It'll be more rooted here in reality. Consider a tree, from seed to sapling to its full-blown tree. It takes a while for a tree to establish itself, but once it does, it's well rooted into the earth. It's stable, it's secure, and it lasts, it's alive for years on end. Okay, so remember how you have a top 3? You can combine elements to make your manifestations even more powerful. Let's say you're a fire, growth, water person. You can find herbs that match your intention. Then you can take a candle, that will be your fire element, dress it with those herbs, and also use a infused oil, that will be your water element. So you have 3 elements there in that one candle. Maybe you chant out loud while you're holding a stone in meditation. Fire and time. Maybe you light a candle at a certain moon phase or during a planetary hour that matches your intention. Growth and water. Maybe you bury your petition in the ground and you water that tree with water that you've charged with your intention. You can throw in some moon there, or some time I should say. You can throw in some time magic, charge your water to make it moon water, and use that moon water to water that tree that has your petition buried into the ground. This is where you can get really intentional with where you put your focus and where you put your energy at, rather than throwing spaghetti and meatballs at the wall and just hoping something works. Your energy, although it is infinite in its own way because we can replenish, as long as you're replenishing your energy, it can get depleted when we do this type of work. Manifestation takes energy. So why not utilize your energy effectively by focusing on techniques that you know that you're connected to? And of course, you should always experiment, keep track of what you've tried and what the results were. Maybe something isn't in your top 3, but it works well for you. You'll never know unless you try. So if you've been scripting, reading it out loud, that hasn't worked for you, maybe you've tried water manifestation, tried all the things that you find here on YouTube. I hope that now you have a framework for you to experiment and try different techniques to see what works best for you. In the next part of this manifestation series, we'll explore further in depth about utilizing and cultivating your energy. Also, you can try this meditation to align your energies so that you can co-create, manifest with the universe.